Wonderful. So, weekly Wednesday workshop, and today we're getting a bit cosmic. We're getting a bit, well, depends. There are lots of layers on what we're looking at, and I wanted to look at the idea of unity and togetherness. And obviously within the worlds of meditation and spirituality, there is talk of unity, and we're all part of the universe. But it parallels down through many aspects of our lives. And one of the gateways to compassion is through kind of working on the idea of unity. And it's strange because we talk about unity, we talk about creating like everyone together. When there's phrases like divide and conquer, the idea that if everybody's separate, that they become weaker, and therefore they're easier to control or command. And this can lead, and we see it at the moment, and it's something I've been kind of having lots of conversations about, is the whole thing of everything now at the moment seems like it has to be labelled. From what type of person you are, to every creak of your body, every emotion, every behaviour seems to have a label. And the problems with labels in any area of life is they create separation. They create separation. The them and us, or this type of person, that type of person. The moment we're labelling anything, I mean, don't get me wrong, labels do help us identify certain things, but there comes a point where if we're labelling too much, like with, I'm going to use an example from hypnosis, and with hypnosis we talk about the conscious and the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind. And we talk about the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the brain, and the mind being this, that, and the other. However, there is just your brain, there is just your mind. When it comes to the brain, there isn't actually really any side that's dominant when you're doing any one activity. Both sides are firing and doing bits at the same time. When we come to labels, labels can empower us, but they can also disempower us. When I did the talk the other day at the school, I was talking there about how, if you turn around and wear your stress or your anxiety as a label and own it like a label, it's going to make it harder to get rid of, rather than just seeing ourselves as a whole. And when we do this with whether it's with people, because I mean, like, I think back to when I was at school and then going into college, and there were people that listened to the mainstream trendy music. There was people that listened to kind of Indian grunge, and there was people that listened to rock and metal, and that was it. And I guess rap was in there as well, and might have been one person in the whole college that listened to jazz. I don't know. I never met that person if there was. But now there's so many labels. You're not even just identified by the label of the type of music. It's down to the person who's singing it. And again, all these divisions create a them and us. And within ourselves, to say, oh, I have anxiety, to label a condition too strongly is to make it a thing separate to us. Well, the moment something's separate to us, the harder it is to understand it, the harder it is to work with it and to deal with it. When we look towards Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism, the idea of unity comes into play with the fact that at the deepest level, and I love this, because when you say this to some people, it really creates a thought in a moment. I'm going to backtrack slightly on this though. Through a large part of my life, I've had a lot to do with kind of druidry and paganism and that side of stuff. And everybody in that kind of earth-based spirituality is always talking about, I want to get back to nature, I want to reconnect to nature. You can't not be part of nature. It's impossible. Nature is just part of the universe. We can't step outside the universe, we can't step outside of nature. Nature is the way of the universe. And to come to a place where we're viewing the world from a more unified perspective is to come to a place where we're no longer creating those barriers and those labels, or we're not viewing the world through labels and identifications. Instead, we're just seeing our lives and the world around us as part of our overall experience, as part of who we are. And in many ways, it truly is, because on the energetic levels, when you get down to it, everything in the universe is just energy. It's just energy. Like Sally's got the northern lights going on in the background on her thing there. It's all just energy. The same energy that creates that is the same energy that's beating my heart, is the same energy that's bringing the light into my eyes that I can see the screen with everyone on it. The same energy that's giving out all those colours that you're like, it's all the same. You can't be separate from it. However, we live in a world that has developed in such a way that we label and we have duality, and it's this or the other, it's that or this. And when we step away from that labeling, when we step away from seeing things as separate and either or, we then realize that things can become just part of the same. If you think of, I should have got one ready actually. If you think of a magician's wand, you've got the black strip in the middle, or usually a red or a black strip in the middle, and the two end bits are usually white or gold. Now, that left end is not separate to the right end. But so often, we look at life as though the bit in the middle doesn't exist, and these things are, it's either this or it's either that. Whereas actually it's the whole thing together that makes it what it is. And there are some exercises, one of which I really love, and I keep coming back to it, and it's one of those, some of the things occasionally we look at, you kind of need a special place or a bit of time to yourself to explore. But this you can really pretty well do any time, but the best time to do it is if you're out and about in nature. Out and about on a walk somewhere, or if you've driven somewhere and you just stop the car and you're just gazing out of the window. And this exercise is one that's it's meditative, it becomes a meditation. I can describe it and make it sound easier than it is. And this is a way of beginning to experience. I mean, you can do this exercise anywhere, but I'm going to suggest you do it, even if it's in your back garden, is to be out and about. If you think about it, like if I go up to Brown Moss, there's not far from there's a parachute centre. And I remember the first time I went up there, and I was walking around, and all of a sudden I was gripped by this kind of, oh my God, because I could hear this terrified scream coming from somewhere. I couldn't quite work out where it was coming from, but and I was like, where is it happening? Somebody obviously clearly needs help. Where are they? And I was doing this to try and work out where on earth this scream was coming from, because whoever was screaming was not having a good time. And then I heard the parachute open and realised the person that's screaming was up there. And they were on a tandem parachute jump. And the screaming became giggles of laughter once they realised that at least they weren't going to hit the ground as hard as they thought they were. And but when I'm up there, when you do that, you kind of, our natural nature is we're walking along, oh, I can hear an aeroplane, oh, that's an aeroplane, and we go, oh, there's an aeroplane. And we'll, like, if I'm up there, I'll hear, I'm getting used to the noise now, but hear the parachutes unfurl when they're jumping, and I'll think to myself, oh, there's a parachute jump somewhere. Or I hear a certain bird, or the rap of the woodpecker on the woods in the trees, and it's just, we label, we say this is this, this is that. And this exercise, this challenge almost, is to start to be out and about like that, but to not label, to not, in the same way when we're meditating, there's that phrase I've been using more and more just because I like it and don't want to forget it, about, you know, when you're meditating, treat your thoughts like friends, have the front and back door open for them so they can come as they please, just don't serve them tea. So, you know, let your friends come in, let your friends go out, just don't engage, don't engage like that. And in a way, we're looking to do that when we go out for these walks, when we spend some time sitting in nature. So rather than sitting there or walking along and, oh yeah, look, there's the lake, we just observe the lake. If we see a certain tree and we know that it's an oak tree, for instance, we don't go, oh, it's a nice oak tree. We just observe the oak tree. We don't label it. We step away from that labeling. We step away from, because the moment we go, there's an oak tree, we're saying it's separate to our experience. And the purpose of this exercise is to actually create a greater sense of connectedness. And when we do this, it's actually very energizing. It's actually very energizing and empowering. I remember the first time I was at Lilleshall Abbey, where I used to, I've been practicing this on and off for years, and I was at Lilleshall Abbey and I'd been practicing this, and I got to a point and I walked around for a bit, and there's a beautiful, I'm hoping it's still there and hasn't fallen down yet, beautiful tree. It's a yew tree, it's massive, in the grounds there, and I just stood in front of it. And to start off with, I'm watching what's going on, and so there's a breeze moving a branch, there's a robin, there's there's all these loads of birds and insects around. It's a nice warm day. Sounds of cows mooing in the fields and stuff. And I slowly stopped with the labeling and just switched into an observational, where I didn't even have to waste the energy on going, oh, I just watched, just experienced. And there came a point, and I always try to sound as grounded as I can and not sound too kind of fluffy when I'm talking about experiences. But the only way I can say it is there was a moment, and I couldn't tell you how long it lasted, other than the fact that by the time I'd finished, I realised I'd been stood there for over an hour, which at the time felt like about 10 minutes. But there was a certain point where I'd stopped analysing, stopped labelling, stopped going, that's the tree moving, that's the sun dappling, that's the birds flying, and I was just purely observing, no labelling, no distance, no barrier. And there was a very expansive moment where all of a sudden, even though I was only gazing forward, I felt like I was completely aware of the whole tree, to the point where I became aware when birds were flying in from behind me, even though I couldn't see them, but I could sense them coming in, landing in the tree, and I was aware of how much life there was within. There aren't actually quite the words to explain. I still have never been able to quite explain what that moment was like in a way that even comes close to it. But what I'd done was I'd stopped labelling it, stopped going, oh, this is that, and just experienced it as the observer. And at some point that part of me that was the observer also stepped away, and there was just the experience. And in that moment, when people talk about oneness and unity, there was no world out there and me separate. There was just my experience of all that was in my awareness. And it was amazing. It was an amazing moment. Like I say, the words don't actually do it justice to begin to try to explain what that was like. But it came about because I'd stopped putting the barriers of labels. I'd stopped going, that's that, this is that. And we see it lots. We see it in society where, this person won't help that person because of a label. I read a marvellous story the other day about a guy in America. I don't recall his name. He was an African-American chap back in the 50s and 60s, and he befriended I didn't realise, but the Ku Klux Klan has a head wizard. And he befriended... By befriended was he basically started listening to this chap who he knew was the head of the Ku Klux Klan. And even though he knew this guy hated him because of who he was and what he was, he just wouldn't allow that barrier to be there, and he just kept listening and listening. And over time, this head wizard eventually left Ku Klux Klan. This guy he'd even been to rallies as his guest. He'd ate food with him and been for meals with him, and he'd just listened, he'd observed, he'd just been there. And to show that he'd really left, he actually presented the guy with his old robes, and he said, I don't need these no more, I've learned so much from you. But that's because that guy didn't see a separateness, didn't see a difference, and he stayed with and just observed and was there. And it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing we can give to people. It's a powerful thing we can give to ourselves. He also went on to do the same for hundreds of others, and has a whole collection of ex-KKK robes that have been given to him by people who've gone, thank you, because you woke me up to the idiocy and the stupidity of all this. So, if you're out and about, anytime you're out and about, you can even do it at home in the kitchen, just observe. Don't label. Don't say this is a this, that is a that, because the moment you do that, that makes it separate. And just observe and be aware of how that shifts. It takes a little practice, but in practicing that and coming closer to unity, when we come from a place of unity, we develop compassion, we develop an understanding that goes deeper than anything whilst we put somebody as being over there. And especially nowadays, where it's so label based, so divisive, so as many little sections as there are in this design, there's a label for somebody that makes them separate. And I think it's been on my mind a lot recently. It's not each individual part, it's not the separateness of this design that makes it what it is, it's the togetherness of it. And I think one of the greatest ways we can, both for ourselves and by just being by example, is to work towards a sense of unity, dissolving the barriers that labels give us, and moving forward into a more non-dualistic, a more no longer a them and us, a this and that. We are a part of nature, we are a part of the universe. If you can step outside the universe and teach people how to do that, then that's amazing. But the fact is, none of us can step out of it, in the same as we can't step outside of our own bodies, because we are our bodies, we are a part of the whole, and we can't step out of the universe because we are a part of it. And so that leads into today's meditation, which is it's a good one. It has to be said, it's a good one. And it's guided, well, it's got the same meditation. It's more like a guided hypnosis journey and I can't guarantee that like straight away on the very first session you'll get a hint and a sense of this, but the idea of this guided session is to give you an experience of that unity, that connectedness, that realistically there are no barriers. We are all made up of the same stuff, and yeah, it's an interesting one, and it might take a couple of listens through, or you might find straight away that you really have a really wonderful experience from it. So let's find out. Let's find out. So I'm going to invite you to, I'm going to have a drink first because it's quite a long one. I invite you to have a fidget and to get comfortable. That's it. Have a fidget, get comfortable. And then we'll begin by taking 3 deep breaths together. And I don't want you to relax and go within on the first breath. There's no need to relax and go within on the second breath, but on the third breath, as you close your eyes, you can just, in the time that you need to take, relax and just focus within for a while. Taking a deep breath in, hold it, and breathe out. Taking a second deep breath in, hold it, breathe out. Taking a third wonderful deep breath in, hold it, and breathe out. Just return to your natural breath, because there really is nothing to do. Just relax. The more you relax, the better you can feel, and the better you feel, the more you can relax now with every word, every breath, every moment. And as you begin to relax now and allow your mind to drift, I want you to know that a hypnotic trance is really nothing special. It's just a state of relaxed attention, a quiet state of mind, where things happen automatically, the same way your foot sometimes automatically steps on the brake when you're in the back seat of a car, or the way you can reach out and catch a ball without even thinking about it, or way your mind automatically understands the meaning of my words, even when those words can have many different meanings, so that the mind understands that a deer can be beautiful. But what is beautiful to you can be dear to you too. And things can seem to mean one thing but turn out to mean something else entirely, because it all belongs to you. Even as you enter into a light trance, or a medium trance, or really deep trance now, where it's quite okay to relax in every way and allow the mind to drift down that way, in the same effortless way that a pebble drifts down in a quiet, still pond and comes to rest on the bottom. The same quiet way that you can continue now to drift on down while you listen to the sound of my voice and automatically understand the particular meaning of the things I say, and the particular way that they allow you to do what you need to do to enter into a trance now, and to pay close attention now as I begin to explain what we're going to do here today. If it's okay with you, to begin to explore even more than before, perhaps, the way things are connected one to another. Like Tonka toys or Lego, everything's super glued together, the way atoms stick together and the way you are stuck to everything that is connected to everything, everywhere. But before we can even begin to examine the way things are put together, you probably already know that the very first thing to do is to take them all apart. The way a child takes things apart to see how they work. Clocks, CD players, toys that move, they all come apart at the seams to be examined carefully, but I do not know if you already know how much fun it is when the pieces of those things all fit back together again. Just the way they used to, everything in its place, connected all together, which is very different from having pieces scattered all around that do nothing at all by themselves and only work when all connected together in just the right ways. Like jigsaw puzzle pieces, all connected together to reveal the whole picture with nothing missing or misplaced. Or Sudoku puzzles that only work right when just the right numbers are in exactly the right place in each row and each column. A perfectly placed pattern of different things, which is different from a perfectly placed pattern of similar things, like rows of bricks in a wall or tiles one after another on a floor. But then there is a checkered board as well, and woven patterns in weaving, and that can be simple or complex, like the weavings in a blanket and carpets from all over the world, woven by hand on simple looms, with different colours of thread dyed and with roots and leaves, creating gorgeous patterns, each meaning something special to the people who wove them. The way the Navajo wove rugs with patterns of plants and people, but always remembered to leave a knot, an imperfection, not to compete with the creator of all that is everywhere, who created the only perfect thing that there is anywhere. And that thing is this place, here and there and everywhere, and everything in that place, which, as you know, of course includes you, because you are a part of it all too. Just like the sun, the stars, and everything in between, all the starlight flying around, filling up the universe at the speed of light, which is what we're doing here today, connecting it all together and filling up your mind with thoughts that move at the speed of light, following those grooves in thought the way a wheel follows the rut in a dirt road, or water follows the grooves we call rivers that lead from one place to another, from one thought to another, never stopping to wonder why to flow in that direction and to make that connection, because that is just the way thoughts go, from one place to another, from one thought to another, slowly coming to an end, where they all flow together like the sea. The sea of love, a sea of loving thoughts, a sea of thoughts about love and thoughts about everything else as well. All thoughts flowing together, there, melting into each other, there, in your mind, becoming part of each other there, and wondering what happens when thoughts begin to evaporate and rise up into the thin air and blow away and become clouds drifting past in different shapes and sizes that have no real form or meaning, but can look like anything the mind can imagine, like Donald Duck and Goofy perhaps, or whales with large hats, a boat with bat wings, or a man with a large nose that grows over time and becomes longer and longer right before your eyes, while particles of thought continue to separate, to stretch out thinner and thinner, until the mind finally becomes clear with the bright blue sky of a summer's day. And then your body slowly dissolves into particles of sensation, the way sugar dissolves in warm, soothing water. Each piece letting go of the others, spreading out to fill the space, staying in touch somehow whilst also floating up and away, and becoming a cloud of sensations that blow around with the breeze and seep out into the wind, escaping from here to there, travelling everywhere. Particles of you in the air, moving away faster and faster, flying off in all directions, blasting off into space, out to the sun, blasting us with light and energy, all those photons and protons and electrons and neutrinos coming at us, going through us, and you going up at it, and all of it going off towards the stars. Swirling energies of life, swirling energies of the universe, swirling particles, all the same age, all going back to the beginning of everything, the creation of every particle, tiny packages of energy that became sunlight, starlight, moonlight, and by the light of a fire became the earth, a place full of particles, some of which became you, while others became others. And so the question is, how far out can you feel? Out beyond you, out into the room, out into the air, and out onto the sun, out to the stars, out into the past, where it all began, where the particles of you began as something new, something never seen before, and grew into everything all around, and into you too. A drop in the sea, a part of all there is everywhere. A speck of sand on a never-ending beach, able to be aware that there are more connections between cells in your brain than there are grains of sand on all the beaches of the world or stars in the universe. more thoughts than atoms in everything, including the thought that you are where the universe begins to become aware of itself. And you are the universe being aware of itself. You are the awareness of the universe itself. Different patterns of different particles arranged in different ways that allow you to see, to hear, to feel, and to understand things, all connected together. Those thoughts, feelings, sounds and sights, all connected together within you. Like that bright point of light when a magnifying glass focuses sunlight on that one tiny spot, a tiny spot in you, where it all comes together and the mind sees it all. At the same time, feels it all. At the same time, hears it all. At the same time, out to the edges of the universe. A symphony of energies pulsating in every galaxy, star and sun, in the spaces between thoughts, the fullness of space from the beginning of time that fills the mind and comes together right there with an understanding of all that is, with an awareness of touching it all, an awareness of it all touching you. Coming together there, deep within you, and you deep within it, becoming it now, moving with it now, and it moving with you, it becoming you, and you becoming it, flowing together in a rush of sensation, moving faster and smoother than before, deeper and deeper into that space, going backwards in space and time to another time long ago, before words, just sensations then. Sensations you could taste and smell. Sensations that go on and on. And become all there is for a time. with you, allowing it all to absorb you, to become you, to transport you higher and higher, farther and farther away, right to the edge of it all. Hanging on and holding back, but getting closer and closer, being pulled over that edge, sliding right over that edge, and then letting go. A release of all that effort and a plunging off into the emptiness of space. Flowing right on through to the other side someplace. Letting go of it all now. Knowing it all now. To become you once again. Breathing in and breathing out with all of your thoughts and all of your sensations, all of your energies and all of your molecules and atoms coming back together again, putting you back together again, arms and legs reconnected to you, all the parts of you back to you, separating you from the rest of it all, the way a finger is separated from the toes and the legs and all the other parts that it can touch, even though it is still a part of it all, and all of it is a part of you, and you are part of it, being here now, perhaps even more than before, being aware of some things more than others, and able to become more aware later on. And that's fine. Because for now, all you need to do is allow the mind to drift back into awareness, a wakeful awareness where all those things you were thinking about before can drift into the background like a dream. Even though some things can drift back up with you, back to the surface of awareness now, and other things can stay back there for use later on when needed, and that's fine because you can enjoy some thoughts and understandings now about some parts of this experience that can be quite useful, and allow the rest to rest for now as you return to normal wakeful awareness, rested and refreshed. Become comfortably awake and alert now, aware of where you are, aware of the room, of your arms, your legs, of the whole of your body and your eyes. That's right, becoming aware of your eyes just gently in your own time and place when you're ready to have a wonderful week and bring some of that insight and connection back out with you to have a great week and a wonderful weekend. And you can allow your eyes to just begin to open now. That's right, as you return fully back, fully here, wide awake, back here, back now. And when you're fully back, feeling good, ready to have a wonderful week, what's left of it, and bring those insights and experiences with you, then you can stretch, feel good, and then when you're ready to, you can pop your cameras back on